Have you ever wondered if it's possible to turn back the clock and regain your youthful appearance naturally? Or how shifting your mindset could be the key to unlocking powerful health transformations? Join us in this eye-opening episode of Soul Desire as we chat with Julie Tritch, who reveals the secrets of biohacking to reverse gray hair and shares transformative tools for mastering your emotions and mindset. Discover how embracing these techniques can help you let go of negativity and enhance your well-being.
This is your space, your sacred time. Soul desire ignites with every rhyme. Feel the balance, let your spirit soar. In this moment, find what you're looking for.
Hello, my loves, and welcome back to another episode of Soul Desire. I'm Rebecca, your host, and today I'm thrilled to introduce the wonderful Julie Tritch. Julie grew up in a blue-collar family where financial challenges fueled her determination to achieve more. Driven by her dreams, she graduated with honors and pursued a career in business. She made her mark in the male-dominated automotive manufacturing industry, taking on various leadership roles. In 2019, a health crisis became a pivotal moment for Julie, sparking a journey of spiritual discovery and self-development that led her to leave corporate America. Since then, she's passionately dedicated her life to helping others heal and create businesses they truly love. Welcome, Julie, and thank you so much for joining us today. This is truly inspiring. And you did
I'm really
so
excited.
much. You seem to be really a powerhouse, and we got to chat a little before this, actually. And yes, you have an amazing energy.
Thanks.
You just told me you had an amazing day today, and your words were, I have a fantastic day.
Yep.
And this is amazing because I just said previous to this that this is not common. So would you like to get us some insights why you're so happy?
Yes. So I think this dovetails like perfectly actually with the introduction, starting from the health crisis that I had in 2019, which was not the first in my life. It was, one of just the most recent, I would say. And so diving into spirituality and self-development and all of the things and like healing my body, right? And like that's, I think a lot of people turn to spirituality in times of crisis and in times of trying to heal. And like, as you can see, I've got gray hair, right? And I'm only 37 years old, but
It's just amazing.
Thank you. I love it. I love it. This is part of the identity that I was talking about before, because, formerly in my 20s, I dyed my hair. I dyed my hair like every 4 weeks. I had to dye my hair because it grew so fastly or grows so fastly. And so I was like, always dyeing my hair, and I wish that I had my beautiful brown hair back. And then one day I just decided, you know what? No more. I'm not dyeing my hair anymore. I'm going to love myself the way that I am and just fully embrace it, because this is who I am. This is where I'm at, and it's not going anywhere. Right. Well, I've made a lot of shifts and changes, and I've done a lot of internal work. I do somatic exercises pretty much daily. And I recently, earlier this year, I started 2 major changes in my life, and now my gray hair is starting to reverse.
Oh my God.
It's incredible, right? Like I just always assumed like it's going to be how it is, and it's, it's just going to come in. There's just going to be more and more and more. Right. And I'm okay with that because I love the way that it looks, and I love the texture of it. And I get compliments on it all the time. And sometimes I kind of forget that it's there. But this morning, as I'm doing my hair to get ready for our interview, I'm like looking, and it's the brown is starting to come back in, and the gray is less and less. And I'm like, at first I thought like maybe it just like stopped, right? But no, it's like reversed.
Okay, honey, now you have our attention because I'm like, okay, let me have it.
Two major things. I would attribute 3 things to it. one, somatic exercises and somatic work, because when you have that dysregulated nervous system, your cortisol levels are spiked, right? And we know that cortisol is the stress hormone, and that causes our body to age and break down faster.
Yeah.
And so by doing those, the body is releasing this trauma that's stored, and it's releasing everything, that you're continuing to pick up as well. But even deeper than that, like, I changed the type of water that I drink. I now only drink, and I also sell the water, but I drink because I believe in it so much, but it's ionized hydrogen water, hydrogen rich ionized water. And it's incredible. I've seen this stuff do incredible things, right, for other people. And now I'm seeing it do it for me. And then the other thing is this tea. I recently found out that my stepmom was diagnosed with cancer, and a friend of mine suggested, she's cool with it. Like, she's totally good. And we've got the best diagnosis ever. So like, it's the best possible case scenario. But I was telling a friend about this, and she's like, oh, here's this tea. Like, this tea is in between the water and the tea. Like, both of them have proven to help people eliminate and get rid of cancer. And even people with terminal diagnoses. So I'm a researcher. So I'm like doing all the research, and I'm looking, and I'm reading all these testimonials. And I'm like, what the hell is in this tea that it like can do this, right? But I also know that plants are medicine. They are the original medicine. And so I started taking the tea myself, and I take it 3 times a day, every day. And hello, like it.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
I've only been taking it for probably a month, maybe 2 months. There's obviously other things that I do, but these are like the game changers, right? Like, you don't see instantaneous or basically instantaneous results like that unless you make some really, really big shifts and big changes. And
wow. Okay, I will put the tea in the show notes later, because I think everybody wants to have this tea now.
100%. Yeah. So it's fabulous. It's amazing. It's incredible. And I just want to shout it from the rooftops. Like, as much as I love the gray hair, and I just love that about me. Like, it's the fact that I've figured out how to heal my body at a cellular level and reverse aging.
Hello,
everyone always
biohacking.
talks about exactly, and everyone always talks about it, right? But you hear so many things out there, and you're like, really real? Does that really do what it says it does? So,
yes, but you tried it, and you proved it, and it worked for you, and that's amazing.
Not just me, it's working for family members too. My aunt takes the tea every day as well, and she's seeing the same thing. Like, she's completely white, and she's starting to have new growth of her dark brown hair coming back in. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Okay, you just lit up my day.
Good.
But what you said, this sparked actually a thought in me, because you said, I love my hair. And I think there's probably a self-love part in this as well, because to get to this point, to say, I stopped dyeing my hair, I'm good with this. This means a lot for a woman, because for guys, it's kind of cute to have gray hair. For girls, it's kind of no. To get old. And this is, I think it's such a strong, powerful move to say, I'm getting gray and I don't care because I'm looking gorgeous, and you definitely do. But you probably went through a lot of like self-growth to come to this point.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, the growth is nonstop, as I'm sure it is for you and for the people who are drawn to this podcast, right? Like, that's what our lives are all about. We get really curious about, the things that don't make sense, and like, what's really our purpose in life, and that was part of my crisis in 2019. I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, I didn't feel like I was serving anyone. I didn't feel like I was really helping anyone to make a difference in their life. And ultimately, I know that that's my purpose, and that's what I'm here to do. And for some of us, it's being a mother or being a father, or maybe it is being an accountant, right? But for some of us, it goes so much deeper than that of what we're here to do and experience. And having that. So for anyone who's listening, that's going through this moment of what the fuck is going on in my life, and I don't know, and I feel so lost, or I've also noticed a lot of people feeling really down and depressed lately too. Like, It's part of the process. It's not a fun part of the process. But once you cultivate that awareness of this is part of it, then I think that takes you so much deeper. And I just did a video on this not too long ago, I think earlier this week, about spiritual redirects and how like what is meant for me will never pass me by. But the caveat here, right, is that the universe is always saving me from myself. Like I can't tell you the number of times where it's redirected me. And then later I see what I thought that I wanted and what I thought was for me. And it could be years later, right? That I see whatever this thing is. And I'm, oh, oh, the universe was showing up for me in a big way. And I didn't even know it because I was so attached to whatever the thing was at the time. But yeah, it's huge. The development piece is it's huge. And it's what we base our work around. So
That's amazing. So you said you started your journey 2019, right? It was triggered
that's when I
by
left the corporate world, was in 2019. I was kind of dabbling with spirituality here and there beforehand. And but really in 2019, that's when it was like, so before it's kind of like if you're just wanting to dip your toe into the water and test the temperature, right? And then in
yes.
2019, it was like, okay, we're just going to rip the Band-Aid off and we're just going to jump in, right? It's 40 degrees, but we're just going to jump right in, full body. So
That's so brave of you and really courageous. And I think you did probably the best because you're in alignment with what you're supposed to do. And this brings me actually to the question, did you already know there was more for you in store? Because you said you didn't feel fulfilled and you weren't aligned with your purpose. So you kind of knew already deep down, there's more for me. This triggered your journey?
Yes. Oh, yes. Because I think I've always known that I'm meant to help people, and I just didn't know what that looks like and in what way that it would happen. And I think as we grow up, we go through so many iterations of like, I want to do this with my life, or I want to be this thing, or whatever. And I went through those obviously as a kid growing up, but even in college, I changed my major like 4 or 5 times before I finally landed on one. All things that I'm interested in, still to this day. And those play like a piece and they have a role in what I do now. But I just knew that as much as I love process and as much as I love like process improvement and problem solving and figuring things out and supporting people in that way, I love, it's like you're always told, like when you're trying to market yourself, like, well, what's the thing that you give them, right? And sometimes we can't quantify the thing, right? It's like, if it's in business, right? Well, I'm going to get you a 20% return, right? Whether you're a financial advisor, well, get you a 20% return on your investment, right? When you're doing the work in a spiritual capacity, doing the work, in this realm, it gets a little bit more difficult sometimes to give these like tangible, because it's a feeling.
Yes.
Right? It's like it's moving someone from point A where they're lost and they feel hopeless and there's no direction, to this transformation of courage, of strength, of bravery, of stepping fully in. And it's like, how do you quantify that? Right?
True.
And so with what I do, we get to quantify in both ways, right? We get to support people with the analytical piece of it and that logical piece that a lot of people are still looking for. And then kind of as an aside, which is really the main body of work, they get that transformation. They get that stepping into the next highest version of themselves and their business, whatever that looks like for them.
That's amazing. So you connect them basically, you're the bridge to their higher self and you help them to get on their path to their purpose.
100%.
That's 100%. So
100%.
amazing. I think a lot of entrepreneurs are so happy that you're there because sometimes you kind of get lost. There are all the people around you who are telling you otherwise. And there is not one person who's been there, done it, and is giving you a helping hand. You're kind of lost. And the people around you are like, Everybody has an opinion, but not really a valuable one you need at this time.
100%. 100%. And I think there's so many factors to it too. So like if you take in kind of like the businessy realm, if you know who Alex Hormozy is, and if you look at human design, Alex Hormozy and his wife Layla, they are generators. So they're very much like, do this, do this, do this, do this. They have strategy, they have structure, but they also have the motors that go with it, right? They have the motors that are like, boom, 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 get shit done, right? I am a projector. I don't have those motors. I don't operate in the same way, right? But it's like you're just so inundated. And especially if you're in a spiritual base, you're so inundated with like, how do I market and how do I come into alignment with what is true for my soul and for the people that I'm reaching out to when I've got all of this noise and then there's all of this like mess, right? And I think human design is a beautiful tool and a beautiful springboard for people to really not only understand, but for me, it was like validation. Like, oh, you're not lazy. You just need more rest than most people that you've come in contact with, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's that. That's it. Simply put, like you learn more about yourself, and then you can cultivate this deeper, just this more beautiful relationship with yourself because you're no longer beating. It's like you have the permission slip to no longer beat yourself up because you have this beautiful framework that explains who you are and how you operate. And so this is one of the first things that we always speak to people about. I do this now with everyone, whether it's clients, right? Like professionally or just personally. I'm like, well, do you know what your human design is? And most of them are like, I don't even know what that is. And I'm like, oh, perfect. Like, let's dive in.
So you're coaching basically everyone around you.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. But it's fulfilling, right? Like and then of course there gets to be this level of reciprocity, right? And we get to do things that either the reciprocity is that it fills me up and I get to have good boundaries around that. And we get to a point where either, it's time for the birdie to leave the nest and fly on their own, or, does it then maybe transition into a client type of relationship or not? But, that I think that goes along with healthy boundaries and setting boundaries and learning what works for you. And also knowing that boundaries get to change, right? Different seasons call for different things. And we were talking before, like it's Scorpio season and I'm so excited about it. But also with Scorpio season, that means that I'm fully stepping into my like more of my remembering of like, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to kindly and nicely tell you the truth, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it, right? Like if you come to me for advice, here it is. Take it or leave it. Or here's my stance. You can choose if you agree and you're in with that or if you're not. And that's okay, right? Like it's not for everyone and that's beautiful and it's perfect. But I also get to choose where I stand and what I'm good with and what my boundaries are and share that. And you either come along for the ride and the journey and we develop together, or you don't. And it's okay.
Yes, I think it's not for everyone. Like you said before, human design, there are different kind of people. We are all different. Some of us we're more sensitive. Some of us, they need the hard truth. Some of us are just, they don't care what you say. It depends. Mm-hmm. And I think you probably, at least it sounds like this, you meet the people where they are.
Yes, 100%. 100%. And you nailed it perfectly. Like some people are at that level where they're ready for more, or they do need the hard truth. And some people are just, they're Julie in 2019, just dipping the toes in the water, right? And then once they finally decide to fully dive in, and we say this all the time with people, it's how deep and how wide do you want to go? Because that's where we'll go. And if it gets too much or we need to pivot, then we pivot. Like that's life, right?
Yes.
I feel like life is all about the pivot.
Yes, definitely. And I feel like I see this with my clients. Some people, they ask for something and they're really interested, but it's not for them at that time. there's a divine timing for everything. They will come back when they're ready.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the beautiful thing, because they still can come back. There's always a second chance, I say. And if you feel like right now, whoever is listening to this right now, if they feel like I'm not ready to do this step right now, maybe not now, but maybe in a month, in a year, or in 2 years, it's their time. And that's perfectly fine.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because just like you said, like it's all in divine timing. It's all divine, right? And it's all, where are we at? And it's also like looking at resistance too. I love when resistance shows up. Before I did that, right? But now I love when like that vulnerability and that resistance shows up, because it shows me, where do I either get to lean in and be a little bit more vulnerable, or, ooh, I'm having resistance in this area. So this is a place that I get to dig into. But even with me, like there are some times where I'm like, ooh, the resistance is here and I'm not ready to lean in right now. So we're just going to put you on the shelf for just right now. And then I'm going to come back to you later, right? Like when I'm ready to really fully lean in. And I love talking to people like with the concrete-ish example of emotions. And so when I have emotions come up, and I learned this from a beautiful spiritual teacher, Lori Ladd. If anyone knows who Lori Ladd is, she's amazing.
Yes.
And she had said one time, and this was probably like 2020, she had said, okay, well, when your emotions come up, if it's kind of scary to deal with them, and I don't remember exactly her phrasing and her wording, but it's like, you can imagine you are sitting at a table, like you're sitting at a dinner table, and you just invite them to dinner, invite them to sit at the table with you. And so whatever that emotion is that's coming up that or the resistance, right? Like the resistance, okay, resistance, come and have a seat at the table, right? And I've done this before I do it a lot actually, but when I was like moving through anger or moving through a specific emotion, and for me, it looks a specific way in my head. Like if it's anger, it's kind of like a storm cloud with like lightning and things like that. And if it's like that, and if the emotion is like extreme joy, excitement, or happiness, it's like just sunshine. And that's just how it shows up for me. But you invite whatever it is to sit at the table with you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you ask it, what do you need right now? How can I support you? How can I help? Like whatever language works for you, but like, how can I help you, or how can I support you? And most often I've found for myself that just the act of inviting it to the table to sit, recognizing it and acknowledging it is enough to get it to move.
Yes.
But there have been times where I'm not ready. I'm like, okay, anger, I see you. I definitely feel you. So please come and have a seat at the table, but you're just going to sit right there. And I'm going to come back to you when I'm there, right? When I'm ready.
Yes.
And then and it may be 30 seconds, right? It may be 10 seconds. The fact that I've invited it in and I'm acknowledging its presence, and I'm then able to say, okay, I'm not ready at this moment, but I do see you. I do feel you. Please have a seat and I'll come back. It's like the waiting room, and I'll come back. And then when I come back, it either almost instantly moves, or maybe it morphs into something else, a different emotion. And then I have the opportunity to see, like, if there's something underlying, I can see what it is, or maybe I don't need to know. Right. And I think we also get very hung up on that. Like we've been programmed to think that we always need to know what it is, what it's related to. And when I heard we don't have to, you don't even know. But when I fully embrace that, I'm like, this is the most freeing thing in the world. I don't have to know what this thing is in order for me to move it out of my field and to move beyond and to move past and to heal through it. I don't have to know. Sometimes it's very helpful, right?
Yes.
But there are times when it's also very helpful to not know. And I'm like, I don't know why you're here. I don't know what this is, but okay, let's do this, right? And it'll be revealed to you in time if it's necessary. And I think that's a huge thing for anyone listening. Like, this is also your permission slip that you don't need to know what it is all of the time. You might know, but subconsciously you know. But consciously, you don't need to know. You don't have to know. And I think
That's
that's
wonderful.
beautiful.
Yes, it is, because I know we're always thriving to dig deeper and deeper and deeper. And yes, for sure, some emotions hide behind others, but sometimes you don't need to know because you're going down a rabbit hole and it's just pulling you downwards. It's not healthy to know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the attaching in instead of the observation, which can be tricky until you learn discernment and you learn how to detach. It's definitely a skill to be crafted.
Thank you so much for this tip. I think a lot of people will invite their emotions to the table because
Yeah.
I know it from different, and I know it a little differently, but this makes so much sense because
How do you do it, or how do you see it?
I usually do it in my spiritual work. When I heal somebody or when I heal myself, I invite the child with this feeling and I ask this child, I see it, I ask it what it is. It shows me, it tells me, and I see the story. So people usually don't tell me what they're missing. I ask the child, and then I know, oh, there's shame because, and I know the entire story for this. So this gives me the advantage to heal it. But most of the time, all this child needs is a hug, love, and acknowledgement.
Mm-hmm.
Because this emotion, and for me, this emotion for you is, it comes to the table. For me, it's in this child. In your version, it's usually a child between until the age of 7, because there all the beliefs manifest. So it's usually in this age. And then I see, okay, this is your story. And then you can heal it. When you ask this emotion, why are you here? What do you feel? What do you want to tell me with this? It's the same thing.
It's the same thing. It is the same thing. And it's so interesting too, because the inner child work, it's pivotal. It's huge. It's huge. But I also know that I'm calling myself out here. I've had a lot of aversion sometimes to doing that because I've done some really deep inner child work. And it was, I'm just like blubbering on a phone call with a friend of mine who does this, right? And I'm like, that was intense. I don't know that I'm ready to do that again, right? And so we create these stories about what it is or what it isn't and what it looks like. And we kind of, and that was very early on too. And then you attach into that story. And now it's like, you also kind of know when it's the inner child and they're asking for something, right? And just like you said, a lot of times it's just attention. It's just a hug. It's just acknowledgement.
Yeah.
I mean, because how often do you see small children and they're doing whatever it is that they're doing? So, if they're doing the why, what, like mom, 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 they're just trying to get your attention, right? They're not trying to annoy you. They're not trying to piss you off. They just want your attention. Like they're not coming at you with ill intent, right? Like they're coming at you because they have a need that's not being fulfilled. And that's exactly what your inner child then is doing to you.
It's so true. It's usually when you see them, children are so easy to read. I feel like they only come because they have a really intense need. It's not just because they're bored. It's a need. And so if a need is not met, and we all have this, if you're just parents, you're human. So of course there happens something and you can't meet every need your child has. And this need, which isn't fulfilled, usually becomes a limiting belief or something there is a story created. And this story doesn't necessarily have to be true, but it's there and it's all, it's archived in your head, in your subconscious. And there you have it. When you're older, it's this unmet need. And the story is right there and it gets triggered all the time. So yeah, deep inner child work is really tough and not everybody is at this point to handle this. So the table exercise we all can do.
Yeah, the table exercise is beautiful. It's so simple, right? Like when Lori had explained it, I'm like, this is a game changer, Lori. Like you're amazing. But it's like even within the business realm, right? We often don't make the connection that I know people always say like how you do one thing is how you do everything. And there's truth to that. But we often don't realize that the patterns that we see in our dating and romantic relationships is a pattern that's also running in our business, right? It's a pattern that's also running in other places. And so and I think that's why there's such a beautiful transformation that happens. We had a client recently that we were working with, just on business and on structure and on, developing like what was healthy for them in terms of routine. And with the work that we did just within this body, right? Their dating life shifted entirely, like instantly.
That's amazing.
And it's so beautiful, right? Because so often we think in buckets or in pillars, right?
Yeah.
Love and relationships is here, friendships is here, family is here, business is here, whatever, right? No, no.
Yes.
It might manifest more visibly and more apparently to you in one pillar versus another, but it's a cord that's running throughout all of them.
Yes, it definitely is. Because I myself noticed this when I manifested something, my entire life shifted. Everything. And this brings you to the question, do you manifest with your clients? Because you just said when you go through something and everything shifts, and it sounded like you basically manifest as well with your clients business-wise.
So I personally believe that we're manifesting all of the time. And we're manifesting whether it's what we want or what we are not loving, like we're constantly manifesting. So we don't necessarily do very specific where we're calling it manifestation, right? But that is what we're doing, right? Like we're teaching them ways to be more in alignment with them, with their true self, which then is where you have the highest potential to manifest, I would say, the quickest when you're in that alignment and you know what your soul is telling you. Then manifesting it is just like boom, right?
True, because it sounds like you're also removing all the blockages and all the limiting beliefs on the way there, and so you free the way for the manifestation to come.
Yeah, 100%. And it's interesting, like going back to speaking of the child, right? Like the child and the need, that the child is just what they are, just innately what and who they are. And these, what we consider to be blocks and stories and limiting beliefs and programming all comes in at that young age. But it comes in, like you were saying, because the need wasn't met, which again, no judgment. Like if it happens, right? And part of this happens for us to be able to learn lessons and to grow through experience. But the human, the adult, so I'll say the adult, we have these. I once went to a leadership development conference and it was probably like 120 people, maybe. And on the third day, we had the very first thing in the morning. We were able to do, it's kind of like hot seat coaching where we were able to get up in front of the entire room with the microphone. And like, I don't remember if we were sharing something specific, a breakthrough that we had. And I had a huge breakthrough that morning with my mother. And and I got up there and I was on the microphone in front of all of these people. I'm shaking. I don't think anyone could see it, but I was shaking. And the facilitator, he was like, you don't just have walls up. He was like, you have built a brick castle with walls and a moat, and there are alligators in that moat. And I'm like, ooh, if that isn't the truest thing I've ever heard in my life, like you're right, right? Like we go through these experiences as we're growing up, and then whatever it is that's coming into the subconscious that we're now replaying and replaying and replaying. So because it's constantly replaying, our psyche is drawing to us experiences that solidify this thing. And then we continue to solidify and continue to solidify and continue to solidify until it is beyond a shadow of a doubt, our truth, right?
True.
I have shitty romantic relationships because I've always had them. That's not true. It's just your perception. It's just your current belief in your current reality. And so, and that's powerful in and of itself. It's so, so powerful. I recently saw a clip with Tony Robbins where he was interviewing someone, and he asked the individual to look around the room and to look for everything that was brown.
Yes, I know.
So they're looking around. Okay. So they're looking around and he's looking around the room really quickly, seeing all the brown things. And then when Tony says, okay, what did you notice that was red?
Yes.
Wow. Right? And he's like, okay, now I want you to look around the room and I want you to see what's red. But then we create the story in our minds. And he's like, and I bet when I asked you to look for things that were brown, you were also cataloging things that were brown adjacent or beige, right? Or like when I asked you to look for red, you're also cataloging burgundy because your mind is trying to enforce the thing that you're looking for. So it's going to do that in every way possible, right? And this is how we do in our daily lives. And this is how our awareness and our perception works, whether we're thinking and consciously perceiving or not, it's still there. It's still there and it's still coming in. So this is a huge key as to why like awareness and the way in which we speak to ourselves is so important. And all of these tools, there's so many beautiful, gorgeous tools and I love them. But it's so brilliantly wonderful when you dive into this body of work and you just start digging and digging and learning more and seeing more. And then as your awareness opens and broadens, and I feel like this is really the biggest work that we do is opening people's awareness to how do you speak to yourself? How do you look at yourself? What's really there and really true for you in your business or in your life? And it's also that pivot and that shift of, well, let's introduce or let's recalibrate what's within your scope and what you're actually looking at. Like if you're trying to create wealth and abundance, everyone wants to create two things, right? We want wealth and we want great romantic relationships.
Yes.
These are
The two
like
human needs.
Yes, the top two, right? And it's funny because it's like everything else could fall away, right? Not really, but it's like the perception that's out there. So when you're looking at these in these areas, you're like, oh, I've had really terrible relationships my whole life. I blah, 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 whatever your story is, right? Well, what if we look within each relationship and we look at what were the beautiful things in that relationship? What were the moments where you learned about yourself in a deeper way, or the moments where you cultivated love in a way that you didn't know you were capable? Let's look at wealth and money and prosperity. I saw something really cool. I think it was yesterday. Do you have a roof over your head today? Did you have a hot meal? Did you, right? Like the things that we kind of take for granted quite often. But it's like, and this is why gratitude as a practice is so freaking magical. And I love it so much.
Oh, yes.
Because you really get to embody and you get to shift that perspective. Like we've been programmed to be incredibly negative, and it's not your fault. It's nobody's fault. It's just the state that you're in, but you can shift it in an instant. Right? One of the most incredible books that I've read, it's simple. It's The Magic by Rhonda. I've got it right up there. Rhonda Byrne. And she's also the author of The Secret. People probably know The Secret.
Yes.
And so she has this book called, she has like 4 now, I think. So it's like The Secret, The Magic, and The Power. And then the biggest secret or the greatest secret is the recent one that she came out with.
Greatest, yeah.
Yeah. But The Magic is all about cultivating a gratitude practice. And when you stick to it and you do it, and by stick to it, I mean, I hate structure. It's not in me. Like in my human design, all of my arrows flow to the flow side. They all are on flow side and not structure. So with that, I also learned that I have to give myself grace, right? Like if I miss a day, do I have to go back to the beginning? She wants you to, but that doesn't work for me. So I don't do it. Right? And make up your own rules. Do what works for you.
Yes.
But cultivating that practice. And, I also feel like with rules, if there's a rule and it doesn't align to us, then we beat ourselves up to follow the rule.
Yeah.
We shame it. We shame ourselves. We guilt ourselves. Yeah, just get rid of it. Right? And it's all made up anyway. Just make up whatever you want.
But who in the first place actually did this rule? There was somebody for whom it worked. So
Exactly. And if that's you and you love rules, I'm not telling you not to love your rules. If that's you and it speaks to your soul, by all means. Yeah. But it does not mean it doesn't speak to mine. Right? So do what speaks to your soul. And I think this is a very big thing that we work with clients on too, is really tapping into your body and listening to your body and what it has to say. And to your business. I think a lot of people don't understand the concept that whether we're talking about money is a consciousness. Your business is a consciousness, just like you are. It's just not in a physical body, right? Just like money, it's a consciousness. So we get to work with that. We get to work with it consciously, subconsciously, in all the ways. But once I tapped into that, I'm like, if money is a consciousness, my business is a consciousness. I will take a dowser and I will have conversations with my business. 100%. I'll have, because I'm not a huge fan of automatic writing. I don't know why. It's just not my jam. But so where like my business partner, she'll automatic write with the business, I'll douse or I'll sway test, right? But do whatever tool works for you. But have a conversation with your business. Have a conversation with, even if you don't have a spiritual based business or you're just trying to develop into this world, have a conversation with the aspect of you that's embodied in spirituality, that's embodied in this journey. Some call it higher self, you call it whatever you want, but have a conversation with that part of you. You could have a conversation with the coffee cup if you wanted to, right? And
humanize
it's all
it.
Beautiful. Yeah, absolutely.
It's wonderful.
Because then it takes on a different persona and a different perspective, right? Like if we're looking at money as it's a consciousness.
Yes.
If you were in a romantic relationship with money, what would it say to you?
Great question. Juicy question.
The same with your business.
Yeah.
Your relationship to whatever. Think if you were in a romantic relationship with it, what would its feedback be to you? And no judgment, right? We've all been there. We're all there at some point in time. No judgment. It's just, what would it say? Just like if your partner comes up to you and your partner says, hey, last Tuesday at 3 p.m., you said this thing to me and it really hurt my feelings. And you're like, oh my God, that was in my head. That was something in passing and I haven't thought about it since, but they've probably dwelled on it for 5 days, right?
True.
It's the same thing, right? How are we treating money? And you can automatic write on this. You can journal on this. A really fun thing to do is to set a timer for a couple different times throughout the day, whether it's on your psychic abilities or whether it's on your business or whether it's on money. Set a timer and you can have that timer say, like you can program your phone into say like whatever the thing is. And then you say, okay, what is my relationship right now with money? What's my current belief with money? What's money trying to tell me? That's a powerful one. What's my business trying to tell me? And you check in 3-4 times a day with yourself with these alarms. What's money trying to tell me, right? What's my current relationship with money? What does money want to say to me?
Loud
That's the game
question.
changer. Yeah.
But
So
they
powerful.
actually force you to think and reflect, and all of a sudden you get to the root of the issue.
100%. And that's what it is. That's what we're here to do. This is the piece that I love about the practical side, because my time in the automotive industry and manufacturing, it's always root cause analysis, right? It's not like our current healthcare model that treats the symptoms, but not the root cause, right?
Yes.
It's root cause. We get rid of the thing, right? And I've got so many beautiful, I would call them practices, but so many beautiful tools from my time in that industry that not only teach you how to get down to the root cause, and then you put the solution in place, but then you monitor. So they have a process where you monitor and you check in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days. If the problem crops back up, the problem you were trying to solve crops back up, then you probably only treated the symptom. Or maybe it's a multifaceted issue, right? Like when we look at, let's say health, you have gut health, you have adrenal health, you have, what are you putting into, you have all these different things, right? So it can be more than one thing. You can find a root cause to the solution, and then for 60 days you don't see it pop back up, but at like day 90 it's like, I'm still here.
It's slowly popping up.
Yeah, so this is why I love doing what we do, because we get to take those beautiful people who are like tangible, problem solvers, and they love to have a tangible thing. We give them tangible things to do all day long, right? And for those people who are ready for more and ready to move more into this, I would say, the world of the unseen. It's not, and I used to identify it as woo-woo, and I know a lot of people still do that. But to me, woo-woo was like, oh, it's this weird mystical thing that I don't understand. And now I'm like, nope, that's actually who I am and where I came from, right? Like it's spirituality. It's what you are. And so you dance between the two. We dance between the two all day long anyways, right? 3D, 5D.
It's totally fine. Find your balance and find your jam.
Yes. I love that you said that. Because I always say that. I'm like, this is my jam.
Oh. So, Julie, where do people find you? Because you have so much to give, and I think a lot of listeners want to join you.
I hope so. I love helping people on their journeys. So you can find me on, I think we found each other on Threads.
Yes.
So you can find me on Instagram or Threads, and it's just at julie.tritch33. Or you can put in Julie Tritch onto Facebook and you can find me there. My actual business is Transformative Leadership LLC. So it's just transformativeleadershipllc.com. If you want to email me, just stick my name, Julie, at transformativeleadershipllc.com. There you go.
I will put everything in the show notes.
Okay.
Because this was a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm thanking you so much. I had such an amazing time. You spilled so much the beans, and especially the hair tea. I'm all yours. No, really, it was a really transformative and amazing conversation, and you're such an amazing human. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun. I've really, really enjoyed it. And thank you for the body of work that you do and for having a podcast and sharing that out with the world. Because it's a calling, right? It's a calling to be able to show up in this way and to share yourself so openly and vulnerably with people. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you. Before we wrap up, I hope you found our conversation with Julie Tritch as insightful and inspiring as I did. Julie's been so generous to offer us a special coupon code for amazing tea blend, which might just help you reverse early signs of aging. I'll be sure to include all her contact infos and the coupon, of course, in the show notes. I'd love for you to join our amazing Soul Desire podcast Facebook group. It's an awesome space where you can share insights, ask questions, and support one another on a spiritual journey. I'd be thrilled to see you there. If today's episode touched your heart, be sure to subscribe so you'll never miss our latest soulful explorations. We've got another exciting episode on Monday, and I can't wait to share it with you. Your support truly warms my heart. If you're enjoying the podcast, leaving a review would mean so much to me, and it would help others find our amazing community. Thank you so much for being a part of the Soul Desire family. I truly appreciate each one of you deeply. Until next time, keep shining and embrace the magic of your journey.